Welcome to this episode of Q&A with the Hombre. It's the 12 noon edition this Wednesday. Yeah, we skipped last week because it was the holiday, so I didn't do a live stream last week. I want to give you all a break so you can spend time with your family, since Wednesday was the day before Thanksgiving, and everyone was preparing for the holiday, so that was great. But I did get a episode off for you guys this last weekend, and people went crazy about it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that stuff today. And it's primarily with the pricing, with tequila pricing, because things are going a little crazy now. And I want to explain some things so people kind of have an idea of what's going on, because I got some comments from that video that where I don't think people are kind of grasping the whole situation and kind of what we're looking at. So first thing, some announcements that are happening. You guys, make sure you put in your calendar live stream a week from this Wednesday. I will have Alex Gonzalez on with me. He is the owner of a brand called Malavida. He is also the drummer and songwriter for a group, small Latin rock group called Mana. Actually, that's a really, really major Latin rock group. They travel all around the world. They're big time, and so he's jumped into the tequila world. I reviewed his tequilas a couple weeks ago, and I liked them. They're good. So we're going to talk a little bit about his journey, kind of what he's been doing with his brand, what his ideas were, and really kind of talk about how he created his brand and what his goals are with it. So I think, to get a little more in depth into some of these owners' minds is kind of a good thing. So we're going to start bringing some more brand owners on as well as producers. So you guys can ask questions. So the members, the YouTube members, will be able to ask questions and find out from them a little bit about their journey and what it's like creating a tequila brand. So it should be a very informative episode. So I hope you guys will put it on your calendar. Make sure you be there. It'll be 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 Eastern. That we'll have him on, and it should be very informative. It should be very good. So make sure you put that in your calendars. All right. So what other things for those of you that are big into looking for some of these limited editions that are coming out? Fortaleza Winter Blend has landed here in Southern California. It's starting to hit the shelves. So some of you have seen it showing up on store websites and stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the winter blend here in a little bit. El Tesoro 85th anniversary is already hit California, but only Northern California. We're waiting for it to land here in Southern California, and then it will be available on Ferment and Still, hopefully. What we're going to do is the members, my members, are going to get first access to it. And we'll try to work out a good price for them. And then anything that the members don't pick up will be put up on Ferment and Still for the public. And I have to find out what they want to do on the pricing on it. And that's kind of we'll talk about the Fortaleza stuff too in a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit about tequila pricing, because everyone's been going crazy about why things getting so expensive. Some people said, well, you know, compared it to bourbon. So here's the deal with tequila. Tequila is a little different. Actually, it's very different than bourbon. You know, bourbon's made from grains. Whiskey's made from grains. It's made from corn, barley, wheat, you know, stuff like that, where it's readily available here in the U.S. It's actually also produced here in the U.S. And bourbon requires that you age it in barrels. It's required by the rules that you have to put it in a barrel. And so tequila is a little different. Tequila has to be made in Mexico in order for it to be called tequila. And most of it's made in the state of Jalisco. There's some other municipalities in the outside, Guanajuato, Tamaulipas, Michoacan. I'm drawing a blank on the other ones, right? But there's a few little areas outside of Jalisco where they can make tequila as well. It's been designated by the DO as a place that can produce tequila and grow agave. So the pricing in tequila is a little bit different in the fact that, number one, the plant that they use to make tequila, which is a Weber Blue Agave, is a succulent that takes anywhere from 6 to 8 years to mature, sometimes longer. So it spends a lot of time in the ground growing, and they have to wait a while for these crops to mature in order to use them. Corn, wheat, barley gets taken care of every year. Hold on just 1 second. Sorry about this. Hold on. All right, there we go. So it takes between 6 to 8 years for agave to mature, right? So you have to wait a while for these crops to mature. Secondly, agave, because there's a shortage, somewhat of a shortage, but it's not like a massive shortage. And if you talk to some people 5 years from now, there's going to be a glut of agave. That's what some of the producers have told me. We'll see what happens. They said it's very cyclical. All right, but the price of agave is high. Okay, so when you have to buy agave for making tequila, you're paying a higher price for it. So starting off, the cost of goods for tequila is going to be a little more expensive than the cost of buying grains to make bourbon or whiskey like they do here in the U.S. Secondly, when you cook agave, right, most of the time it's cooked for 24 hours and then has to rest sit for 24 hours to cool down. So it's 48 hours just from the cooking process in order to really get the process going for creating tequila. Sometimes they cook for longer though. Some places will cook for 48 hours or 3 days. It all depends on what their process is like. Sometimes they'll cook in 8 hours, but they still have to give it time to cool down before they can handle it if they're using it like an high pressure autoclave. But it typically takes 24 hours for the cooking to happen before they can get ready to start extracting the sugars and stuff from the agave. So after that, they extract the sugars. They can do that in a day, and then they get it into the fermentation tanks. And then you're looking at 4 to 6 days typically for fermentation to happen. Sometimes it goes longer depending on the temperature outside, what the ambient temperature is. Temperature has a great effect on fermentation, so it could take longer than that. And then once it is done completing fermentation, they send it over to distill and then just distill it. Where, you know, with bourbon, it doesn't take very long to do a mash. So you put your, like I used to make beer, okay? Beer and bourbon making is very similar. Actually, beer is like the beginning part of making bourbon where you have to do a mash. And your mash is typically bringing the grains up to temperature. And typically it's like 100 and, well, when I used to do it, we used to do what was called a protein rest first. So you bring it up to about 123 to 125 degrees, and then you let it sit for a little while and do a protein rest. And then you bring it up to about 150, 155 in that area, and do your enzyme rest for the enzymes to start converting the starches and the grains to sugar, okay? And typically you do that for an hour. We used to let it do for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most. It all depends. Sometimes we do a double stage alpha amylase rest, which is where you're getting the enzymes in the grain to convert those starches to sugars. And then you basically, we then after that would do what's called the sparge, where you basically run water through, wipe get all the sugars off the grains and get them out so we can ferment, okay? And so then they ferment to the grain, and then they run it in for distillation and create their white moonshine or white liquor before they then it has to go into a barrel to become bourbon. And yeah, it goes in the barrel for a long time, 7 years, 10 years, 25 years. I don't know what the lowest is for bourbon, but I think it's 5 years, I think is the lowest. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it has to sit in the barrel for a while, and that has to happen in order for you to call it bourbon and to be able to sell it. So that's, you know, incorporated in what they do there. And they can produce huge batches at a time, where a huge batch of tequila requires a huge batch of agave, which is very expensive. So they don't normally do as big of batches as some of the big bourbon producers do. Some of the smaller bourbon producers, they probably do equivalent to the size of the batches. But then what happens too with tequila is after it's done with distillation, they can put it in a barrel and they can go ahead, or not a barrel, they can put it in a barrel, or they can just put it in a bottle and go ahead and sell it. So a blanco tequila can sell. It can generate money for the distillery very quickly. And typically, you know, they'll put some of it in bottles and sell it as a blanco. They'll put some in barrels with the intention of creating a reposado or añejo or extra añejo, depending on what offerings, what expressions they're doing for their brands. So just starting off, the price, you know, the production cost for creating tequila is very time consuming, but it's also people consuming. They have to have humidors that trim down the agave when they buy it from the fields. They have to pay per kilo for the agave, and then they have to pay, you know, personnel for running the distillery, and it takes a lot of time in order to get a batch done. Typically, they can hammer out a batch in about a week. A little bit longer, maybe a week to 10 days. They'll get a batch done, and then it has to be bottled. And then here's where some additional expenses come in for them as well. after it's bottled, if it's coming to the United States, they have an importer that will then pick up the batch of tequila, normally a semi truck or whatever, and then they have to ship that here to the United States. Okay, so when they do that, they have to file for label approval and stuff with the TTB. That costs money. Register the brand if it's already registered. That costs money. And then they have to pay for the trucking of it to bring it from Mexico into the U.S. They pay taxes on it when it hits the border. And so there's a lot more fees and stuff that's tacked onto it then. Okay, that brings the cost up again. So, and then once it gets there, the importer then puts it in a warehouse, right? And so they have to pay for warehousing. So that increases the cost as well. And then if they have a distributor, they then will ship it to the distributor. And so they pay for the shipping to the distributor as well. Or sometimes if you have a good distributor, the distributor will cover the trucking. It all depends on what agreement you have worked out with them. But then once the distributor gets it, they have to warehouse it and they put their markup on top of it, right? So right now we have the cost of it coming from the distillery. We have an importer that has to make their money on top of their costs. And then we have the distributor that has to make their money on top of their cost. And then it goes to the retailer, and the retailer will then add their markup on top of it to cover their costs. So that's where a lot of the costs are coming in now. It's because everybody adds their stuff to it. But initially, a lot of the raw materials that they're using, the cost of agave, the cost of bottles, because glass right now, there's a glass shortage, so glass has gotten expensive. Things like that have gotten expensive. And then gas for the trucking companies to pick up the product and get it across the border has gone up in price. So it's driving all the prices up. So that's why you're seeing bottles getting more and more expensive. Or somebody mentioned they saw a 35% increase on Altos Blanco or whatever. The cost of business is going up. So that's why you're seeing a bunch of cost increases like that. Now then you also have things like let's say the El Tesoro 85th anniversary. That particular expression, they had to bring barrels of Booker's 30th anniversary Booker barrels from Kentucky to Mexico. They had to pay for shipping that over. This is a limited edition batch. They just did a small amount. There's not a whole lot. And they sat in barrels for over 3 years, right? So that tequila was not put in a bottle and sold as a Blanco. So they're losing money on it by it sitting out in a warehouse, aging in the barrels, right? So they had to pay for the barrels too to be shipped over. And it sits there. It sits there for 3 years doing nothing. But they have to have people that go and check on it, people that maintain the barrel room, maintain the humidity, the temperature, and all kinds of stuff to make sure that that's turning out right. And then they also have to, of course, they on special editions like that, they typically do samples and try it throughout the process to make sure it's hitting, what they were looking for. I know when I visited Carlos Camarena, I got to try the 85th out of a sample bottle he pulled from it, where he determined when he pulled that sample bottle that it needed 9 more months before it was going to be ready. So when I was drinking it with him, it still wasn't done yet, but it still tasted really good. Okay, so that includes more cost from having to sit in the barrel room for more time. It's more time intensive. And then they also, put a nice wooden box together because it's basically made for the aficionados, for the collectors, the people that are going to want it and show it and put it on their bar and enjoy it for special occasions and stuff like that. And so it drives the cost up. And so when you look now, back in 1980, or not 1980, but for their 80th anniversary, it was $299.99 suggested retail price on the 80th. So $4.99 for the 85th isn't that bad, but that's what's really driving a lot of these prices up, is the fact that there's shortages. they can't age it fast enough. It has to sit in the warehouse, not making money, where people are sucking up the Blancos right now. So they could put these Blancos out and sell a lot of it and make the money at the current price now, right? Instead, they did it at old prices, and then it's, you know, going to be sitting there while inflation's happening and all stuff like that, not making them any money. And so they have this money that's been spent and sitting in a warehouse instead. And so, you know, they have to get it so they can cover their costs and as well as make some money on the special editions as well. So that's what you're looking at pricing wise. And then the reason why Blancos are going up is because you cost of bottles, cost of gas, cost of people are getting paid more here in the US. So you have to pay the truckers more. You have to pay, you know, there's all kinds of things happening. And the global shortages for the raw materials and stuff is also causing prices to go up. For glass, there's a glass shortage where there's a lot of the brands are waiting 6 to 8 months in order to get glass for their bottles. So, you know, it's all driving the costs up. So that's why we're experiencing higher costs across the board on a lot of the regular Blancos that are out there. So that, of course, is going to drive up the cost of the special stuff that's coming out as well. It's not going to stay cheap anymore. It's going to be more expensive. But that's also why it's a little more expensive than bourbon is, because it's a little more time intensive and it's more costly to make than whiskeys and bourbons are. Bourbons, they're made here in the US. The distilleries don't have to have an importer import it. They don't have to pay import taxes. They don't have to pay, you know, to bring it across the border. They don't have to, there's a lot of things they don't have to do that tequila has to do. Instead, it can go straight from the distillery here in the US to a distributor. Matter of fact, Sazerac, who distributes a lot of bourbons and stuff, they own Buffalo Trace Distillery. It's their distillery. So, you know, they have a lot of that stuff that they need already built into the organization. Same with Beam Suntory, and they own some distilleries and do their own thing as well. So it keeps the cost down. Now, the thing that drives the cost up for bourbon, though, is the crazy demand for it now, and the fact that people are willing to pay for some of these bottles. They're willing to pay a lot more than they probably should be. And so that's what's driving a lot of the cost up on there. It's not necessarily the price from the distributor or the distillery, it's the price from the retailers. And that's what we're looking at with the Fortaleza Winter Blend. The price from that is fairly reasonable. It's, you know, it's expensive because, of course, you know, the producing tequila these days is not cheap anymore. So the prices come up, but it's not as crazy as what some of these prices that some of the retailers are listing it for on their websites. Now, you can't blame the retailers for doing that, because it's the people that are buying it that are driving that cost up for them, right? So you'll see prices for the Winter Blend now as high as $349, $399, which is crazy. And so the only way that we can kind of control that and get it so the prices aren't that crazy is to refuse to pay them. Okay, the retailers would be dumb to not list their products at that price if people are willing to pay that for them. The whole idea, the whole reason why the retailers are in business is to make money. That's the whole idea. That's the whole reason. So as long as people are willing to pay a price for something and it sells, they're going to make a lot of money on it and they're going to be doing good. But what happened originally was, and I tried to explain this in my video, when back in 2019, when the first edition of a Winter Blend came out, it sold for $76. I think I got it for like $79.99 because nobody knew anything about it, right? And so what happened was they came out with it, and Fortaleza announced that, hey, we've got this special edition. It's very limited. And so what happened is, as soon as it went up for sale at places, you know, like Old Town and other places online, there was these collectors, these gray market, I call them gray market people, the after sellers, resellers that bought up a lot of the stock, right? They bought it up at the $79.99 price. And then they went into Facebook groups, Reddit boards, any place where they could go to resell these bottles. And they were selling it for 3 to 4 times what they paid for it. And what happens is a lot of these retailers are in these groups because they want to see what people are talking about, what stuff they should buy. So they do their research. They're in these groups, they're watching, and they're seeing, well, these guys are buying all this stuff up. I only made a 20% margin, 20% markup on this stuff. And these guys are making 4 times what I made on it, reselling it. So why should I let them get the money when I'm the one with the overhead? I'm the one that stocks the bottles. I'm the one that has to pay for a store. I'm the one that has to cover my costs. So why shouldn't I make the money? So you can't blame them for charging these prices that all these people in these groups were paying for this product. You can't blame them at all. It's the resellers, the gray market people that did this. They're the ones that drove the price up. The ones that do the raffles. I mean, you look at these illegal raffles they do on Facebook, they call them razzles, because Facebook sees they're doing a raffle, they'll shut them down. They call them all kinds of things, where they'll sell 50 tickets or 100 spots, and then it doesn't seem like a lot, but people will buy them, and then they make 4 times what they paid for the bottle. And then a lot of people, only one person gets the bottle and everybody else is out $50 or whatever, but they had a chance to get it. I mean, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's not smart. And it's not smart paying as much for a bottle, because here's basically what happens, right? It's basic economics. So if you're not willing to buy something at a certain price and it sits on the retailer shelf, eventually they're going to have to lower the price to sell it. They're going to have to, because otherwise it's costing them money sitting on the shelves. When places carry inventory, they're losing money. The whole idea is they spent money to buy the inventory. They want to sell it, make a little bit of money on it, and then buy more inventory, bring that in, sell it, make more money on it. And that's the way they make money, by turning over inventory. So when inventory sits on their shelves, because we as consumers refuse to pay the price has to come down. So my advice to people is, look, don't get all crazy with FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And let it sit on the shelves for these prices. Don't pay the prices. Don't pay them. And if you do, they'll have to come down because they don't want them sitting on their shelves forever. Meanwhile, otherwise, the retailers are looking, they're saying, okay, this stuff's disappearing off the shelf for $349.99. That's what I'm going to sell it for, because if this place is making money on that much money on it, why shouldn't I? And you can't blame them for wanting to make as much money as they can. They're operating a profit business. They're not operating a charity. So don't buy it for that price. Let it sit. You'll have the opportunity. You're not going to miss out, because the more that sits on the shelf, the better your opportunity of getting something when the price comes down, and you can pay a more reasonable price for it. So that's the way you have to look at things. It's demand. It's what people are willing to pay that creates the worth, the price. If you're not willing to pay it, the price will come down. If you're willing to pay it, and they can't keep it on the shelves, it's flying off the shelves at whatever price they listed it for, the price is going to go up next time. Because if it flew off the shelves at that price, they're obviously pricing it too low. And they'll increase the price next time, and you'll have to pay more for it, if you're so inclined to do so. I know a lot of people this year that have said, I'm not buying it because the prices are ridiculous. And good for them. Don't do it. Let it sit, because it will be available. It's going to stay there. It's not going anywhere. If you don't pay the $349, if everyone doesn't pay the $349 for it, or $299 or $379 or $399, whatever the ridiculous price that's being posted for, let it sit. Don't buy it. And the price will come down. They'll have to lower the price. Otherwise, they're losing money on it with it sitting on the shelf. All right. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that? It's basic economic supply and demand economics. Whenever there's a shortage of things too, since there's only limited edition, right? It's allocated. What that means is that in order for you to get an allocation of it, you have to sell a certain amount of Fortaleza. So if your store sells a certain amount of Fortaleza, the amount you're going to get is based on how much Fortaleza you sell. So there's a store here in Riverside I go to a lot. They're a great store. They got like 2 bottles an allocation because they stock Fortaleza, but they don't get enough inventory to generate a higher allocation. So the places that sell a lot more Fortaleza are the ones that got a heavier allocation. So Michael Harrington wants to know, but should I expect to pay more here in Maryland? Well, it's going to be different based on your taxes. So, your state taxes, but it shouldn't be that drastic. I know, I think Washington State charges like a 50% tax. So I think, things are going to be a little more expensive there, but states that have a higher liquor tax, like a much higher liquor tax, you should expect to pay a little bit more. Okay. But $2.99 to $3.49 or whatever, that's crazy prices. Now, the standard retail price for Fortaleza, you guys are going to kick yourselves. The standard wholesale price for Fortaleza Winter Blend is $90. That's the standard wholesale price. So that's what a store that's like getting 1 bottle, they're paying $90 for that bottle. So it's a 300% margin. 300%, 400%. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So be smart with your money. There's other options out there. You want to try a good reposado? Try the Luchador. It's like $59 or something like that. It's great. It's a fantastic reposado. It's amazing. Spend your money on stuff like that. There's plenty of it. It's very good. You're not missing anything. And if you don't buy it and the price comes down, you'll have opportunity to get it at a better price. So there you go. Okay. So that's, let's visit in with some of our subscribers. Now, you guys have questions about this stuff, ask away. I'm here to help. I love the channel. The spread of knowledge in the tequila world is lacking. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad that you enjoy the channel. I do my channel a little different. Mine's not just the sipping, the tequila and going, oh, it's smooth, you should buy it, it's good. I'm more about educating the consumer, because I believe when you have the knowledge is power, right? So if you have the knowledge of going in and what you should expect to pay for Fortaleza Winter Blend, and the price is crazy, you can walk out there with the power saying, I'm not paying that price. That's ridiculous. It's going to sit on your shelf. That gives you more power. Your money is your power. So where you decide to use your power affects a lot of things as to like what the pricing is going to be like, whether you're going to be able to get it later at a lower price, and stuff like that. So that's the thing. Is there a minimum dollar amount to ship for? No, there's not. No, the shipping prices, they charge $25 shipping. So it's better to not just get 1 bottle of something. It's better normally to buy a few bottles and then spread out the cost, but it's $25 for up to a case, which is a good price. Considering now, if you ever tried to ship stuff, it's expensive now to ship things. For me, just to send like little things to t-shirts and stuff to people, it cost me $12-13. So $25 for a full case, for 6 bottles of something is not a bad price. They charge a very reasonable price for it. So it's not that expensive. Is Fortaleza allocated is what Michael wants to know. No, it's not allocated. Well, I guess it kind of is allocated. The reason why Fortaleza is so hard to find is because there's a lot of people trying to get it, and they're small production. They don't produce a whole lot at a time, and they run 24/7 now because they don't have the ability to produce very large batches, and so that's why it's hard to find. And the distributors do allocate it. They do limit how much each store can buy, so they can get as many stores to have it as they can. So it is kind of allocated that way. But here's the deal with Fortaleza, right? If you want to try Fortaleza and people want it readily available, quit buying it. Quit buying it. Just try other things. There's other brands out there that are just as good, if not better. I prefer a lot of other brands over Fortaleza. Fortaleza is good, but just quit buying it for a while. Let it get a chance to restock. Try some of the other brands. Give some of the other guys that are producing really good spirits a shot, and try some of their stuff. And you won't believe, you'll get just as much likes on Instagram and on Facebook or on your Reddit. You'll get just as much thumbs up or upvotes and stuff grabbing some of the other stuff from some of the other producers as you will Fortaleza. Just let it go. Let them get a chance to catch up. And if you do that, you'll find it everywhere, and the price will come down because it'll be sitting on the shelves. You try some of the other stuff like Carrera Blanco. Carrera Blanco right now, the new CTB 045 is the best Blanco I have ever tasted, bar none right now. It is so good. It set the new bar as to how good a Blanco tequila can be. And if you haven't tried it, you should. There's plenty of it. There's not a shortage. There's plenty of it. And you can enjoy that for $49.99, very low priced, readily available, and it's delicious. It is so good. It's the only Blanco right now that I actually have cravings for. It's so good. There's Viva Mexico. That's a fantastic line out of 1414, out of Vivanco Associates. Viva Mexico is very good. Try that. G4, try that. El Tesoro, buy that. That's readily available. You can find that all over. It's very good. Give Fortaleza a rest. Let them catch up. Let them restock. And by everyone buying a whole bunch of it as soon as it hits the shelves, you're not doing anything but driving up the prices of it, because they're like, well, it's still flying off the shelves at this price. We're going to jack the prices up because we can, and people will still pay it, and we're going to make more money on it. Just give it a break. Try some other stuff. There's plenty of really good tequilas out there. You see all these tequilas up here. You won't see very much Fortaleza on these shelves. I don't buy it. I don't. I posted a picture on Instagram of a bottle that I was drinking, añejo. That was from a year and a half ago. I had that bottle still on the shelf. I still have one on my shelf from like a year ago. I still have my winter blends from last year here that I haven't drank yet. Just let them sit. Back when I bought the añejo that was on my shelf, I could go to the liquor store down here and there was 2 cases of añejo on the shelf, and it was selling for $69.99. So give it a break. Try it. Try other brands. Yeah, it's very hard to get where you're at. I understand that. It's because people are going crazy over it, and it really, there's other brands. You don't need to be so crazy about it. You don't need to buy it up as soon as it hits the store shelves. It will be there. It's not going anywhere. It will be there. But give them a chance to catch up. That's what you got to do. Give them a chance to catch up. Let the stores get stocked. Let them be able to fill all their inventory back up again. You just got to give them a chance to keep up, catch up to everything, catch up to demand. So start drinking other things. 123 organic tequila, fantastic line. There's plenty of stock out there. It's fantastic tequila. It's very good. So Ocho's a very good tequila. Ocho's very good. There's some you can pick up bottles of Ocho all over the place. Samson and Surrey is the U.S. owner of that brand, and they have it all over the place. You can find it. It's very good. It's very tasty, delicious stuff. Very good. Fortaleza isn't any magical elixir. You may find that you like some of these other brands even more, like I have. Fortaleza is a great quality tequila. It's made right. Guillermo Souza does a fantastic job with his distillery and making a great product. It is the baseline for what a good Valle tequila tastes like. But it's not the end all be all. I mean, you can find bottles of Cascanas out there. It's going to be more expensive for Cascanas, but they do a lot smaller batches than Fortaleza does. And so that's one of the reasons they have to spread the cost over smaller amount of bottles, right? It still costs the same for the batch of agave. It still costs the same for the truck to bring it over for transportation, but they just have a smaller amount of bottles they have to spread the cost over. Right? If they're loading 8 or 10 pallets on a truck, they can spread it over 8 or 10 pallets. If they have one pallet on the truck, they have to spread the cost over one pallet. It drives the price of the bottles up. So, but yeah, give them a break. Try other things. There's lots of videos I have for other tequilas that I reviewed that are delicious. They're very good. Try some of them. Explore. Widen your horizons. Give Fortaleza a chance to catch up. Your reviews are spot on. Ordered a few bottles of El Luchador from Ferment and Still, so help. Looking forward to that. And someday the Ocho Continental. Oh, well, the Ocho Continental's done, so you're not going to find any Ocho Continental anymore these days. That was like a small one-time deal. So, but they did the Widow Jane this year, was their version of that, which is very good. It's the Widow Jane, Ocho Widow Jane is very good. I enjoy it a lot. So make sure you grab a bottle if you haven't yet. It's delicious. Hola, Al Martinez, how are you? Glad to see you today. Glad you could make it. God, we're already 45 minutes in. I must have went crazy on the pricing thing, huh? Any truth to the statement that cheap price means it's not good? No, not necessarily. There's some lower price stuff that's good. So the fact that the price is cheap doesn't mean that it's not good. In a lot of scenarios, it's because it's diffused, because diffuser, it's a lot less expensive to make. But things like there's some differences. There's some scenarios where that's not the case. For example, El Tequileño, their mixto blanco is very good. It's very good. It's made with piloncillo, which is a special kind of Mexican brown sugar, and Weber Blue Agave. You can buy that really inexpensive, but it tastes really good. San Matias Gran Reserva out of Casa San Matias. It's $55 for an extra añejo. It's very good. It's very good. And the reason why they do that is because the San Matias Gran Reserva was the first extra añejo ever created. They were the first to do it. And it was the San Matias Gran Reserva. And Carmen had made this vow that she was always going to keep it extremely affordable. So for that particular tequila, they use their own agave that they grow, and they do things. They create a huge batch of tequila for it, and they use some of the batch for some of the more expensive tequilas, and then they do allocate some of that for the San Matias. And that way, they're not trying to make all their money off of just making the San Matias Gran Reserva. They have a bunch of different brands that they make that are their own brands, and so they can recuperate the money by putting, like, let's say, that Blanco into another one that's more expensive, where they can make more money on it. But it's a great bargain, extra añejo, very reasonably priced, typically around $55, like right around there. Very good. I love it. I drink it. It's good. It's not no additives. It's not diffused. None of that stuff. Some other tequilas. The Mahia Extraña that we have on Ferment and Still, $76 for that good of a extra añejo. I think it's actually cheaper now. I think the price went down. But for that good of an extra añejo is ridiculous. It really is. It's easily $170 extra añejo. But what happened is I found stock. I found stock of it in a warehouse for an importer that wasn't really doing anything with it. It was just sitting in the corner. So basically, we're selling it at prices from like 8-9 years ago. I think even more. I think what's the date on it on the bottle? I think it's 2007. Is that right? But we're selling it at old prices. So pick up a bottle and try that. That's amazing stuff for the price. I have people that are my members and stuff that are picking up bottles 3-4 at a time because they're drinking it. It's so good and everybody loves it. So yeah, not necessarily the whole idea that just because it's a cheap price that means it's not good is not true. It can be true. It all depends on what product you're looking at. So there's not like a standalone thing that makes it correct for everything, you know? You bought 7 bottles of Fortaleza the other day, did a side-by-side comparison versus El Tesoro in a margarita, much better. What, El Tesoro was better in the margarita or the Fortaleza? I'm sipping on some Pachuga Mezcal that I bought from... Oh, there you go. Okay, I knew you were going to San Luis. I'm glad you were able to find some good Mezcal there and hopefully visited a Palenque and scored a good deal on it. Because I know you asked about that, and I told you to try to get some good mezcals there. So hopefully you were able to pick something up from one of the Palenques, or I don't know what they call them. They can be called Palenques. They can be called Vinatas. I mean, it's like different areas called different things. So Palenque is primarily Oaxaca, I think, and Vinatas some other states. I think Michoacan calls them Vinatas, and it's like there's a bunch of different. It gets confusing after a while. I know somebody's going to comment. Oh, it's going to be like this here. I have to use my voice mod. Sorry.
Sorry, it's out of San Luis Potosi, so that's going to be called a Vinata, not a Palenque.
You know, there'll be somebody that comments like that, and just like, shh. All right, so I hope that sums up the whole pricing thing for you guys. It gives you an idea. So $4.99, people keep saying $4.99 for El Tesoro and the 85th anniversary edition is crazy. It's not crazy pricing. It fits in with the way they've always kind of priced it for a special, limited batch, extra añejo like that, special anniversary edition, plus every bottle of their anniversary editions that I've had so far has been very good. The 70th was probably my favorite. I still have a bottle of the 70th. Have you guys seen the 70th anniversary bottles? If you're not, I can pull one off the shelf and show you what it looks like. But it's great. It was fantastic stuff. And back then, when that came out, which was what, 80, we're looking at 85th now, so 15 years ago, the price for that was around $100 15 years ago. And that was considered ridiculously high then. So, so it's really good. So I think you guys will enjoy it. It's worth the price. Don't make it an everyday sipper. Don't use it for margaritas or palomas. It is a special gift. It's a special thing to enjoy during special celebrations, or when you're ready for something really, really good. I mean, that's the reason you buy those. Now, the Diablito Rojo, it's $695 for that. There's only 2,000 bottles made, and that's it. It's done. It's one batch, and that's it. And it spent 7 years in brand new French oak limousine barrels. 7 years. And then it was finished in these exclusive Napa Cabernet barrels from a top producer that were shipped from California down to Mexico. They had to purchase the barrels from the producer, ship them down to Mexico, and age his tequila in it. So additional cost there. But the fact too that it sat on in French oak limousine barrels for 7 years drives the cost up. It's 7 years. That's twice what an extra añejo requires, right? 3 years is it becomes an extra añejo. So 7 years, it's a lot of time. So it drives the cost up. I said, hey, hombre, I picked up some Orgullo Blanco to add some staves and see what comes out of. Salute. Oh, nice. You do know Orgullo is been discontinued, right? That is a special bottle, my friend. You sure you want to age it? The whole Orgullo line here in the U.S. has been discontinued. And it's good. It was very, very reasonably priced. We can't find it around here anymore. If I could, I'd buy it to keep some on my shelf. I think I have the Orgullo. I think I found a bottle of Repa when I was in Mexico, and I grabbed the bottle. But they're no longer making it because they are basically combined Orgullo with the Pueblo Viejo line. Sorry. Had a total brain fart on there. So I don't know if I'd age that one. I'd probably just enjoy it because it's done here in the US. So but if you want to age it, it's fine. Hey, on the rocks, how are you? Hola. Just so you know too, hola is one L. Otherwise it's Oya. Oya como va. But that's Oye anyways. O-Y-A. It's different. Or Y. O-Y-E. Sorry. All right. So, any other questions? What do you guys think about this whole pricing scenario? I mean, how many people are looking forward to getting the El Tesoro 85th when it lands? How many people? Now, for those of you too that want to get in on some of the stuff and get better prices too, think about joining my memberships. I have the Discord group, which is the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective, and we're doing special batches, special barrels and stuff for the group, and they get exclusive shot at it first, and then if there's a bunch left over, then we'll put it up on Ferment and Still at a higher price, but they get a better price too. And then when these special allocated things come in for Ferment and Still, we offer it to the members first at a lower price. So a lot of my members picked up a bottle of Winter Blend this week, and I think they're very happy with the price they got because I negotiated with their supplier to allow me to do that, and then my partners agreed that they were going to take a case and put it up on Ferment and Still at a much higher price. So those of you that bought it on Ferment and Still, I guess good job, but you paid a lot higher price than what the members did. So membership has its privileges. Now, there's no guarantees that all these allocated things are going to go to the members, but when I can work it out, I do as an extra perk. So Jan says, I'm definitely on the 85th. A is one of my favorite anyway. Okay. Nice. So membership has its privileges. Think about joining the Discord or the YouTube channel, because I do try to set those guys up with some of the allocated stuff first. But more importantly, you support the channel. I mean, that's what it should be about. You support what I do by being a member, but then you also get, like, for the Discord, if you really want access to the special stuff, the Discord's the way to go, because that's where the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective buys are happening. So that's what we're doing. The Lafric barrel from El Tesoro. We're going to have a special barrel I selected. We're going to do it. We're going to be the first to get the single barrel Reposado from Yayo. That's in the works. So that's for the collective. Also, the high proof Carrera, new load, their high proof Blanco 108 proof, so 54%. That's an exclusive for the collective. We also have, what else is coming in? That's a buy. for the collective. We have a special Blanco, a full batch of Blanco from 1414 that was exclusive. That's just us. You can't find it anyplace else. That was also a special buy for the collective. And then we got some other barrels in the works that we're gonna get. We have a 135th anniversary special añejo from Casa San Matias. It's gonna be amazing, but the collective is gonna be the first to get that. We have a allocation, and then of course I try to work out the better pricing and stuff on that. So membership has its privileges. Think about becoming a member and supporting the channel, and then becoming, a collective member. For the YouTube membership, they get access to some of the allocated stuff when I can get it. I'll post it for them. They got the puntas, and they also got the Serra de Luz went to the YouTube members. And then they also get to ask questions when I have producers on, and brand owners. So when Alex from Mana is going to be with us, it'll be the members that get the opportunity to ask him questions and get information from him. So it's just, YouTube is more about supporting the channel and supporting what I do, and getting access to some information as well. I post stuff there about things that are happening or inside stuff that I get. So you can join, like most people, a lot of people join both. And it's $10 a month for each of them, $20 to join both. And you get a bunch of different perks and stuff from both of them. And everyone, I think, so far has said that they think it's well worth it. I haven't gotten anyone that said that they didn't think it wasn't worth it. So, Michael Hendricks is still waiting on my first order from it. Still, do you know if they hold a purchase bottle until I get several bottles to? No, they don't. They do not. No, they won't hold anything. But I know they got a ton of orders in. Last time I talked to the guys, they said they've are trying to catch up with all the orders coming in. So things are taking a little longer. It is that time of year where a lot of orders are coming in. And then of course, UPS is not the fastest this time of year either. So, it's going to take a little longer to get to you, unfortunately, but they're doing their best to get the orders out as quickly as possible. But they don't hold any purchases to put. As soon as you place an order, they push them through. So, so you can just set up your wish list, or until you get all the bottles that you want, and then you can maximize shipping that way, or just go in and pick out several bottles and place an order for several stuff, but nothing gets held. All right, you guys, we're getting close to the end here. Don't forget to give me a like for all the information I shared. And if you're new to the channel, you guys make sure you subscribe. Click the subscribe button. Click the notification bell next to it so we can see you on some of the videos that are coming up that we're going to post. I got some reviews that we're going to put together for you guys, as well as the live streams. You can get notified every time I come live, so you can join for these Q&As, as well as other live streams that we'll do when we have special guests and stuff. I've got some things lined up where I'm gonna have some really cool producers, as well as some really cool brand owners and stuff coming on, so you guys aren't gonna want to miss that. So make sure you press the subscribe button, but more importantly, click the like button. Give me a like for all this information I shared, all this knowledge I'm sharing with you guys. Help out the channel. I appreciate it. And that's it. Any other questions or comments? Hurry up, get them in real quick. More than happy to answer them for you. And we'll see. We'll give a couple more seconds here. All right. I guess that's pretty much it. So until next time, like I always say, life is too short to drink bad tequila. But more importantly, too, it's too short to way overpay for it. Okay. So don't do it, and the price will come down. All right, guys. See you later. Bye. Salud.